Welcome to the Super Facts Show on the Super Facts Network, featuring St. Laz, who also hosts the popular web series Gem Pop and music journalist Mark Walter Ward. They have discussions about hip-hop, culture, society, philosophy, and everything else. Now available on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts. What up, world? It's your boy Mark Walter Ward, Super Facts Show, Super Facts Network. We got a very special guest today with us, DJ Pain One. How you doing today, brother?
Feeling good. How are you feeling?
Man, I can't complain. Now, you have one of the most eclectic production discographies of anybody. First placement on Jeezy's Recession, Lil Baby, Ludacris, Nas, Public Enemy, Yo Gotti. You got a new single with Cannabis. It's got Cannabis at his most thought-provoking since he was making songs with Mr. Cheeks. We're talking about aliens.
Yep.
You worked extensively with Soleil, a lot of underrated projects. But the one name that jumped out on your discography that I have to know the story behind is Orlando Brown.
Mm-hmm.
How did you come to produce a song? And did you produce for it, or did you just perform, or did you just buy the beat from you?
It was actually, and I had to figure it out too, because there was this one morning when people were kind of going crazy with the tweets and telling me, how crazy the Orlando Brown record was. Like, I don't even know what they're referring to. And then I heard it, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I don't know where this came from, but I went into my email and just searched Orlando Brown, because I'm like, I must have been missing something. And yeah, sure enough, it was PB Hassan, so shout out to him. He contacted me maybe a month or two prior to the very first record coming out, which was it was that double song video. It was like a double feature where it was two songs back to back, and mine was the second one. And yeah, I guess he got it through Hassan, and then after that, Papa Smurf, who I believe is the manager, contacted me directly, and so now we're working more directly, and that was how the last record came together. I just sent him that track through email because it was one that they had heard on my BeatStars site, and so I just shouted over to them.
BeatStars is your site?
No. I use BeatStars, so my beat catalog, a lot of my beats, about 1,000, are on a BeatStars Pro page, and that's how people can listen to them, stream them, license them, so forth. So a lot of people are checking out the catalog on a daily basis, and then they might contact me and tell me that they like A, B, and C, and we just work it out from there.
Gotcha. And I see you had a really pretty productive 2020 as far as the singles go. I mean, a few of them stood out. I mean, were standouts to me. First off, how did you link up with Cannabis and start working with Cannabis?
That was through a gentleman named Matt, who is into crypto and everything. So shout out to him and Mithril Order. He reached out for some custom production, and I think the first record we did was with a Rappin' Forte verse, or a full song by Rappin' Forte that he had, which is crazy because I was a big Rappin' Forte fan.
I was gonna bring that up too, but yeah.
Yeah, so that happened, and then he was happy with the way that turned out. Oh, you got Ghost. And
oh nah, Pepper fell down.
and it just kind of went from there, and so eventually it led up to him sending me the Cannabis verse, and then him also seeing if there should be a second verse on it, and we talked about it, and he suggested Crooked Eye. I said that'd be great because that's a friend. So definitely, I would love to have Crooked Eye on this record. I think he'd sound great on it. I mean, he'd sound good on pretty much any record. So yeah, he sent the verse back. I dropped it into the session, produced around it, mixed it, sent it back to him, and and they dropped it. It's actually available as an NFT. I think maybe today is the last day to put a bid out on it. So that's a whole new world for me. I'm not gonna claim to be an expert on that whole world of crypto and NFTs and all the emerging technologies now. So hopefully you don't ask me any questions about that, but they know about all that. So
Shit, bro,
yeah,
I wouldn't know what question to fucking ask you. I barely. I mean,
yeah,
I know what it stands for, but I barely. I mean, I understand the concept that people attach value to something that it has value. I mean, that's the Federal Reserve, so that's about as far as I know, though. You know, that's a great segue, though. So then, you know, one of the 2020 singles, which is hilarious yet insightful and whatever. Fuck Alex Jones. How did that one come about?
I want to say that came out a long time ago.
Well, you know, it was on Spotify. It just says 2020.
Okay, probably because
You uploaded it then, yeah.
I think prior to that we didn't have me and Soul didn't have our albums on the platforms, and yeah, last year I think through our distributor we did that. So yeah,
That should look like you got like 20 singles, bro. Like last year, I was like, damn, he was working hard.
I mean, I was working hard last year, but yeah, that was from a older project. I think we made that in like 2014 because fuck Alex Jones. So yeah, we had a bunch of fuck whoever records, me and Soul, and one of them was Google, one of them was Alex Jones, one of them was maybe it was just those two. Those were the prominent targets, I guess, that particular year for us.
I mean, that covers a lot of bases between Google and Alex Jones.
Yeah, it's a nice range, right?
Yeah, no doubt. So then, you know, you also worked extensively with Black Rob. Did he see? I'm not sure if I remember correctly. I know you produced for his Duck Down album, but did y'all have like a mixtape together, or he hosted one of your projects or something like that?
Yeah, him, and this is an amazing thing for me to say, just as a hip hop fan. Black Rob, rest in power, and MC Light hosted my first Painkillers mixtape jointly. So that was pretty amazing. And prior to that, I had produced, and this was a shout out to Coptic. I had produced a record for another New York hip hop legend that we lost too soon. It was for the Black Rob album. It was featuring Sean Price.
Right.
That was the first project. Then we did a record with him and I-20, and then
Which was bananas. I definitely remember that record.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and then I went to New York. I flew out to New York with Compound, and then we linked up with Coptic in the studio, and Black Rob came out. Worked on new records that never came out, but that's when we discussed the whole mixtape thing, and he was with it. So we recorded all the drops for the mixtape, and that's how that came together.
You know, I mean, you don't know this, but I did a lot of time, and a lot of that overlap with like when Black Rob was out. Like I was totally unaware of the second Bad Boy album, and you know, unfortunately, a lot of times you don't revisit or even find people's music until after they die. And I didn't really like he was underrated. Like I didn't realize how good of a rapper he was because I kind of started going to jail like around the time of Whoa, and I probably only heard that album like once or twice, which in and of itself was underrated. I thought it had a little bit too much puffy on it. But the Duck Down album and the second Bad Boy album, I mean, those shits was insane. The production, man, it was like a who's who on the who produced for that second Bad Boy album. And I just don't think enough attention has been given to like, I mean, you know, they're talking about Whoa and they're talking about the first album, but just like his overall skill level.
Yeah, I've that made me a little sad too because it made it seem like he had Whoa and just disappeared, and that definitely wasn't the case. And you know, the real fans know that. So I'm glad that that his memory is being honored by so many people, and you know, Whoa is a great song and it's a classic. So naturally, a lot of attention is going to be placed on that one song. But yeah, if anyone's listening and they're not sure about Black Rob as an artist, and definitely check out the two other albums.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, I'm sure you probably told the story about getting your beat placed on the Young Jeezy album as kind of like your breakthrough in the industry a million times. And what's another moment that's like really memorable to you?
I guess working with Chuck D on anything, because that's Public Enemy's has been and still is my favorite hip hop group. So
Does he have an aura? I always imagine that he has like a visceral presence.
yeah, and you know what? I met him once when I was a kid, and then I met him again after we had worked, and a lot of it was remote work. But shout out to Brent and Spanky over at Divided Souls for that connection. And we actually opened for them for Public Enemy at Summerfest in Milwaukee out here. So that's the second or third time I met Chuck D, because I had, as a teenager, I had attended a couple of his lectures. I want to say one or two. And so then having worked with him kind of in a kind of limited way, because, just all remote via email. And then meeting him, that was cool. That was very different. And yeah, he does what you were saying earlier. I agree with that. But beyond that, just the manner in which he works, the process that he uses to make the remote work make sense is pretty amazing. He would email. I mean, if it wasn't actually him sending lyrics that he recorded and saying, "Okay, make a beat out of this," which was a challenge, but it was fun. It was him presenting concepts of the song and then maybe a couple lines and then saying, "Send me beats that sound like this concept." And so that's how we would work a lot of the projects.
How would these concepts be worded?
Um, just
Like
kind of like
specifically vague adjectives?
no, specific, like what you would read on the back of a paperback. You know what I mean? Just the synopsis of what the
Gotcha.
song really, what the core of the song is about.
So
And
that shit had a thesis statement.
yeah, I guess you could call it that.
Got you. So you said you attended his lectures. So in my experience, people who attend lectures typically are readers. Is it? Do you read a lot?
Yeah, I read every day.
Oh yeah. Where are you reading right now?
Right now I'm back to Stephen King. I go from like canonical classics to, I went from Moby Dick, because I was a anti-intellectual kind of hooligan when I was younger, so I missed out on basically from middle school to high school up until age like 18. I was just I don't know what the word would be. It's kind of,
You weren't into that school shit.
I was definitely not, and so I didn't read, didn't care, and so I kind of want to go back and revisit a lot of the classics that I missed out on. So then I switch between contemporary and classics just to kind of surprise my brain.
What Stephen King book are you reading?
Honestly, I don't read. Damn, I don't know the titles ever. I know, obviously, like if I'm reading it or something, I know that title, but I forget the current one. It's similar to Dark Tower, and it's similar to The Shining. I feel like it's a combination of the two in terms of the main
Talisman?
character. Yes.
With
Okay, so that was a
Straub?
good. Yep. Yep. Okay, so you're a fan too then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a voracious reader. Shit. Man, I grew up before we had VCRs and we couldn't afford cables. We had like 6 channels and shit. And cartoons was either like an hour after school or in the morning. So, it really wasn't shit else to do but like play basketball or read or something. And then doing time shit. That's one of the best ways to stay out the mix, because you don't want to be in the mix. You feel me? So, but reading and going to these lectures. You're from Wisconsin, right?
Yep.
And so I imagine, as well as being a reader, you must have a pretty broad musical palette. Do you think that's contributed to, is that part of why such a disparate range of artists sound comfortable at home on your productions?
Yeah, I guess, or maybe I should say it's the reason why I feel compelled to make so many different kinds of music, just because I really like all of it. I've never really shied away from listening to any kind of music, and I don't necessarily make all the music that I listen to.
Good musicians like good music.
Yeah, and I mean, I probably like a lot of music that people would characterize as pretty bad music. So I just think that there's value in almost anything.
Yeah, shit. Hell yeah, most definitely. So with that being said, when you lease or people cop these beats from you, if you're not in the room producing them, have you ever been surprised at the outcome?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised at the outcome of the. I think a lot of people were surprised at the outcome of the Orlando Brown records, for example. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate when people send me the final products, and a lot of them do, a lot of them don't. There's probably 40% being the ones that actually do follow up with me. And sometimes people just drop it, and then someone actually reached out, like a voice actor. I don't remember his name. But he was in a bunch of Disney movies, and he's in a HBO or a Showtime series right now. And someone had licensed one of my beats and themed it around that particular show that he was in, and caught his eye. So he reached out to me because I was credited as a producer, and told me he was a fan of it. And I didn't even know the song existed. So then I go back and connect with the artist, and tell him that I appreciate him tagging me in the post. And the song was dope too, and it obviously caught the eyes and ears of the right people. So it's cool when that happens, when you're pleasantly surprised at the end result, because you have no idea what's happening to your music half the time.
Is this all people just copping beats you made, or are you ever like in the studio giving advice on what to do and things of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, I can't, especially now with COVID. I'm not traveling or anything, but
Well, I mean, yeah, you've been on for a minute though, bro. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, but no, I mean, I produce. So if I am working hands on, then
Have you ever had to like advise a legend, because all these legendary people you work with, that you felt like hesitant to like, I don't want to say correct them, but even give them a suggestion?
no, I wouldn't feel hesitant to give a suggestion, but I would be a lot more open to them maybe pushing the envelope in terms of what my process is, because clearly if they're at that level, and the culture that we're in is just very respect oriented. So, or at least it was when I was coming up. So I would respect the word of and the experience level of a person especially someone that I grew up listening to. It's not like I'm just gonna jump in the studio and say, nah, I don't really like the way you said that. I'm gonna be a lot more open to that artist process first, and then kind of see and really put some thought into what my role is in producing it. But I try to do that, period. I'm not one of those people that just wants to talk and give suggestions just so I feel like I'm contributing to the session, because sometimes you don't need to say anything. Sometimes you just need to let it rock, and then maybe you revisit the track later after you've had that conversation and communicated with the person. But yeah, I think every situation calls for a different kind of involvement from each person who's a collaborator or a co-creator.
Have you ever told somebody, that you were producing in their presence, or that copped a beat from you, that they use your production poorly?
I don't think it's my place to necessarily make that kind of judgment, but I've certainly gave some stronger suggestions and said, hey, you're singing out of key, or you're offbeat on this line, or the kind of things that you don't necessarily want to tell somebody because it feels like you're criticizing them, but you are criticizing them, and there's really nothing wrong with criticism.
Right.
If it is constructive and I am a co-creator, then I should be able to take your criticism, you should be able to take mine, and we should be able to communicate and at least express ourselves to one another, not necessarily capitulate to every single whim that the other person might have, but at very least, let's meet each other halfway, or we should feel comfortable. Because, there are situations where I might work with somebody and the chemistry's just not there, where we're not operating at a level that we're able to communicate with one another either clearly, effectively, or respectfully. And then I think, okay, cool, I'm just going to let you do your thing. If you want beats, you know where to get them. But my production process is going to stop at the beat. You know what I mean? I'm not going to produce the song just because, we don't work out together in that way. And that's fine. If it works out, it works out. I was wrong. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm trying to be less and less of a control freak, and like the whole beat licensing thing has helped me with that, because I do put the track out, and at that point I pretty much relinquish all control over the process from there, unless that person comes back and wants input or wants me to be a part of the session work or whatever. But I think a lot of people have a lot of producers have a problem with letting go of that control.
Yeah, they do. You definitely got that right. Without slighting anybody, just what comes to your mind as soon as I ask this, what are some of the favorite verses you've ever heard over your production? Because I know there has to be some to just stand out.
Yeah. Man, that's a good question. Actually, one of the the Black Rob record, I think he had a great verse on the Sean Price collab.
Sean Price used to bring it out of people. If you go back through Sean Price discography, man, I know it's a lot of times, I'm not gonna say that people rap better than they typically did, but they were definitely at the top of their game. Like I noticed that, he seemed to bring it out of them.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, if you're doing a feature with somebody like him, you kind of have to
steel sharpen steel, right?
Yeah, it's a synergy. And then any Tech Nine feature, and I've had a couple, and he always but it's Tech Nine, so you kind of expect that. Trying to think who else. I actually think I did a little Chucky record way back that had a 2 Chainz and a Yo Gotti feature on it, and I thought they both killed that.
That was like 2011 or so, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I remember that song. I definitely remember that song.
Yeah, but there were a lot of projects that I mean, I loved all the stuff I did with 20. I loved all the stuff I did with Rain.
Killer Mike had a nice verse over one of your beats. I remember that one definitely.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I'm getting over a cold, so my head's not completely clear. But yeah, I think you might have better answers than I do at this point for this question.
I can dig it. You just brought up I-20, who you worked with extensively, and I'm curious, did you meet I-20 through getting a placement on a Ludacris album, or did I-20 help you get a placement on a Ludacris album based on your relationship with I-20?
Actually, neither. I met 20 because of JQ's, so shout out to him. He's a producer also from the Midwest, from Indiana, and we had just kind of been working remote. We've met a couple of times, but we were working remotely, and he was working with I-20 and asked me if I wanted to co-produce a song that they already had done, but he said it just needed more. So he and I just kind of remade an entire beat that he wasn't in love with. I think this is how this happened. This was way back. So then I-20 got on the phone with us and was kind of trying to explain, because Jake Hughes is one of those guys that he's maybe he's not anymore, but he back then he was a perfectionist, and so 20 was trying to get more beats, and I think he assumed that I was of the same mindset as Q, so he got on the phone and kind of have you ever talked to 20? It's just it was like a professor explaining that your research paper was good, but here are ways that you could improve your process. And so he was kind of explaining, the catalog, the building of the catalog to us.
Nah, I would love to talk to 20.
Yeah.
Subtle hint.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he and I still talk all the time on social media and so forth. So,
he's not making music to your knowledge.
Yeah, he is. But yeah, I think it'd be a good interview. So I'll definitely link you. But basically, in my head,
I know he got some stories.
Yeah, good stories too. But in a nutshell, as I'm listening to him talk, I'm like, oh, he has no idea. So I think later that day or the following day, I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna send him like 17 beats, just so he knows, that he's kind of preaching to the choir. And then I think he called me. He was like, oh, I had no idea. Okay, let's. And then from that point on, we were just doing EPs and albums and whatever, because I had a lot of beats.
Yeah, I mean, shit, you might have done more than 100 songs with him, huh?
Yeah, probably. Could be close to it, at least.
You think that's the artist you've worked with the most?
Yeah, either him, Ted Park, or Ray 910. One of them, I would say. And then maybe Soul is like in the running. So
Soul, that's not the same as Soleil.
No, Soleil is a woman that had a pretty hot
genuine.
Yeah. And I thought she was dope too. Soul is one of the founders of Anycon Records.
Got you, man. He's on Fuck Alex Jones.
Yep.
Because I was listening to that Jones, like, I don't hear Soleil. my bad, bro.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, no, imagine you're surprised.
I bet you that ain't the first time someone's been confused about that, though.
No, a lot of people are. Yeah, that the accent on the E makes all the difference.
Word. So before we get out of here, what you got coming up for this year? And then go ahead and please shout out your socials, your BeatStars, wherever people can interact with you or buy stuff from you.
Yeah, there's a lot that I can't talk about that I would like to talk about as far as what's coming up this year. But I am working on a new project with Soul, so that's coming. About 1 million records with Ted Park that I'm excited for. I mean, we're just kind of dropping those every now and then. What else is coming up? Whole lot of stuff I'm excited about. The samplelab.com, a lot of sample libraries that I'm creating with my team.
I see you giving out a lot of advice on Instagram for producers.
Yeah, that, and we're going to continue the Music Entrepreneur Club, which is a free music business mentorship program that Dame Ritter and I both run. And that's Mondays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live. So anyone can join in on that. That's powered by BeatStars. And then my beat catalog is djpain1beats.com. Otherwise, I'm easy to find on all social media. It's just DJ Pain 1, everything.
Got you. Well, shit, brother. Thank you for your time. And if you do me a favor, please stay on for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Super Facts Show, Super Facts Network, DJ Pain 1, Mark Waldo Ward.
The Super Facts Network, home of Jump Pop, STE, and the Super Facts Show, now available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts from. Come check out St. Laz, G from the Shop, and Mark Waldo Ward.